Critics and audiences agree that Aquaman feels like a breath of fresh air after drowning in DC's murkier efforts. It's a light, funny adventure film anchored by two charming leads and buoyed by eye-popping visuals. But a vessel this large can only turn its rudder so fast, and it's bound to have a few barnacles still clinging to its hull. Prepare for spoilers and continue full speed ahead to the 3 best and 3 worst things about Aquaman. Batman and Superman have some pretty iconic bad guys always giving them grief. By contrast, Aquaman doesn't. The movie introduces perhaps the 2 most significant villains from the pages of Aquaman comics, Black Manta and Ocean Master. Both of them are okay, but the story suffers slightly from having 2 separate antagonists diluting the story's central conflict. It's a problem all too common to superhero movies. At least we know we'll get more of Black Manta and that big laser-shooting helmet of his in the inevitable sequel. Jason Momoa was a highlight of Justice League, and fans have been looking forward to more of his likable dirtbag embodiment of Arthur Curry. Not only does the Aquaman solo movie live up to its potential as a Momoa vehicle, it supports him with one of the best casts yet assembled for the DCEU. It's an eclectic ensemble with some surprising cameos, but each gets a moment to shine, and unlike some of the more convoluted comic movies in recent memory, everyone's clearly on the same page about what kind of strange adventure they're on. Momoa continues his shtick as the buff, waterlogged barfly with the heart of gold, but being the center of attention allows him to add new layers to the character. He lets Arthur's self-doubt bubble to the surface in his most vulnerable moments, making him endearing without sacrificing any of his rowdy charm. Meanwhile, Amber Heard successfully leads alongside him as Mira, with a perfect balance of fearsome focus and wide-eyed wonder. From her scene wandering Sicily with Arthur to her battle through the city, Heard makes Mira a true standout. Justice League formally introduced audiences to Aquaman, but only had time for a brief exploration of his Atlantean origins. Mira appeared in one sequence, in which Arthur attempted to protect a mother box from Steppenwolf. Arthur expressed bitterness over being abandoned by his mother, Queen Atlanna, and held her neglect against the people of Atlantis. The Arthur we catch up with in Aquaman is less angry at his mother. He's aware that she was forced to return to the sea, and learns that she was sacrificed to a monster-filled place called the Trench for the crime of having a half-breed son, filling him with grief and guilt. The movie more or less has to undo the motivations established in Justice League in order to get his character arc moving in the right direction. There's also a change in how Atlanteans communicate. It seemed in Justice League that Arthur and Mira could only talk inside an air bubble, but Aquaman has its characters speak freely even when submerged. It makes sense that a movie set mostly underwater would choose not to complicate its characters' ability to talk to each other in this way, but it raises the question of why Justice League introduced such a clunky conceit in the first place. Fans might be slightly annoyed at Aquaman's contradictions of established DCEU lore, but this actually becomes one of its strongest assets. The movie is completely unburdened by connections to other movies, either past or present. Where Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice nearly drowned in setups and introductions designed to pay off in future installments, Aquaman floats free, unencumbered by the sort of franchise-minded filmmaking that has sunk other comic book movies. Aside from briefly mentioning Arthur's battle with Steppenwolf, Aquaman contains no reference to any other DC characters not involved in its hero's journey. No secret LexCorp files, no foreshadowing of cataclysmic events to come. It's just a straight-ahead adventure story about Aquaman and his friends and enemies. It is, in fact, a perfect jumping-on point for newcomers to the DC universe, something Warner Bros. Sorely needs after the convoluted webs of its predecessors proved off-putting for audiences and critics. Regardless of how well Aquaman plays to its strengths, it's still going to be the story of a would-be king who talks to fish and does battle with merpeople. It will probably never reach the universal acclaim of something like The Dark Knight, a movie based on comic books and treated as a hard-hitting police drama. Arthur Curry's adventures will simply never have the same potential for crossover appeal. But here's the thing about a movie that leans all the way into its own comic book silliness. It's exactly what DC Films needs right now. While some discerning theatergoers might be turned off by such a goofy outing as Aquaman, it serves as the perfect antidote to the grim self-seriousness of movies like Batman vs. Superman.
Tell me. Do you bleed?
We've watched Superman die, and we've seen Batman live long enough to become the villain. Even Wonder Woman's solo story didn't have much time for levity once Diana arrived in the trenches of World War I. Justice League had a jarring tonal dissonance, trapped somewhere between brooding and romping.
So your genius move is dying. You really are out of your mind.
I'm not the one who brought a pitchfork.
But Aquaman is bright, wacky, and seems intent on doing nothing beyond shooting fun straight into viewers' eyeballs. Arthur's Tale is a feel-good story concerned not with societal ethics or the meaning of existence, but with his own journey to find his own place and commit to what he cares about. It will never make a short list of important films or warrant major Oscar consideration, but it isn't trying to. It's just fun. And in a year when Marvel slaughtered half of all life in the universe, that makes it a welcome dash of lightness and joy.
Show off. I could have just peed on it.